The best transfer portal and high school recruiting classes combined. Who are they and why? We're going to discuss on the Portal Podcast.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Back into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day, right here on the nation's #1 podcasting network, Locked On. We're going to be discussing all kinds of fun things today about the combination of the portal in high school, and we are brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The winter games are on. They're a lot of fun, and there is no better way to follow them than with a bet on FanDuel. FanDuel. Play your game. The number one thing here overall is the momentum. Did you get enough players in the high school ranks? Did you get enough players in the portal? Did you get the exact players you needed? Is there a playmaker that you added that changes the game? What is it that you did to make your roster better? That's what we're going to discuss today on the Portal Podcast. And to be honest with you, it's a really subjective situation, but there's a really good article I read today. I want to give some props here. Keegan Pope from On3 Rivals wrote an article about the rankings for 6 programs that signed a top 15 high school and transfer portal class. Not one or the other, both. Keegan Pope did a good job kind of breaking it down, and the schools included are Miami and Notre Dame, Florida and LSU. Those aren't really shocking, and either are A&M and Texas. Those are all there. They didn't rank like I thought. Oregon could have been higher, etc. But we're just going to go through theirs and kind of talk about why they have the players they do with their rankings, etc., and just discuss it a little bit. He talks about, well, we'll just start with LSU and Texas A&M and all these schools and just look at it broadly. But I'm going to start with A&M here. A&M's 19 blue chip signees, he says, from the high school ranks was 5th most in the country, only behind SC, Notre Dame, Georgia, and Miami. So obviously they did well there. They've got Reed back. They've got Ruben Owens back, and they've got some really good transfer portal players to that end. Looking at their list overall, I thought that they did a good job in several spots, but they also had to get rid of the notion that they wouldn't be able to replace Cassius Howell. I thought that was a really important thing. Anto Saka, a defensive end from Northwestern, could be an important piece. Maybe he's not the only guy, but Cassius Howell had 11.5 sacks last year, according to CFB stats. That's pretty important. And they also lost some good players up front. So linemen. You hear me talk about that a lot here on the Portal Podcast. They did a good job with that. I'm not sure what's going to happen exactly in terms of the order, who's going to play right tackle, left guard, etc. But Wilkenform comes over from Bama. Cohen Eccles, offensive guard from LSU. Tyree Adams, offensive tackle from LSU, all come in. I think A&M did a great job. They got 18 transfers. It was the number 3 ranked class on On3. Good for them. Texas, 26 high school kids, 19 portal. They got Cam Coleman, of course. They got Hollywood Smothers and Raleigh Brown. Smothers from NC State. Brown came over from USC/Arizona State. But the most important guy that Texas signed, in my opinion, and I'm going to pronounce this how I think it's correct, but Melvin Siani, the offensive tackle from Wake Forest, very highly rated by PFF, and he's a young man that has a lot of experience. Offensive tackle never goes out of style, and just overall, Texas needed more talent, more depth, more competition. This guy's going to come in and start and be a key cog. And then, of course, playmakers, Cam Coleman, Hollywood Smothers, Raleigh Brown. To go with, a really talented group of players anyway, I think Texas is going to be really, really good. Maybe a top 5 team. We'll see. But again, Melvin Siani is the guy that I think is most important. If you don't get the offensive tackles, you're probably not going to win. LSU, this is just my opinion, but the most important player in the entire portal was Jordan Seaton because he is an offensive tackle. I thought he was the best. 320-pounder. He played at IMG Academy. I got to know him. He's a good guy. Went to Colorado for 2 years. He's one of the highest-rated players in PFF, regardless of position, over his first couple of years. And he has motivation to get a ring, get paid, then go to the NFL. Like, he wants to be the first tackle off the board. He's a super motivated guy. They got him to play left tackle for Sam Levitt. And they've got Princewell, Umon Whelan. That's one of the best pass rushers. That's not a normal player to get in the portal. They bring him over from Ole Miss. Oman Whalen, excuse me. I don't think you could have got a top three really any better than those three players. That'll be one of the best top end portal groups ever. Which one's most important? If you're an LSU fan, some will say Levitt, some will say getting Oman Whelan. I don't know, but to me, it's Jordan Seaton if I had to pick, because finding left tackles, there just aren't as many of them. And I get the whole idea you got to have a quarterback, but there are literally more good quarterbacks in the portal than there are offensive tackles. Something to think about. Miami, Jackson Cantwell. This is probably the only high school player I'm really going to talk about on today's show. Is very important. Probably going to end up replacing Maui Noah at right tackle, in my opinion. Maybe the best right tackle in football this past season. He's headed off to the NFL. Jackson Cantwell, maybe the best offensive recruit in the trenches in the last few years. And it's going to be a big task, but they get him. They get Cooper Barcade to go along with, of course, Darian Mensah. They got Omar Thornton, a safety from BC. Conrad Hussey, a safety from Oregon State, prior to Florida State. And they got Damon Wilson, Georgia/Missouri, defensive end, one of the best pass rushers. A great group, but they also had the number 8 high school class. That's really important. They are losing guys, but replacing them with pieces here and there. And that's something that the article overall, and again, this is a really good article. Keegan Pope, check out the article. It's called 6 College Football Programs Who Signed Top Recruiting Transfer Portal Classes on 3 and Rivals. Go check that out. It's really, really good. Next up, after Miami, let's talk a little Notre Dame. They didn't sign a ton of guys. They signed 8 technically. Francis Brew, Tion Gray at D tackle, Spencer Porath, the kicker from Purdue. He kicked 3 field goals against Notre Dame this last year, ironically. Quincy Porter, Mylan Graham, both from Ohio State, really good receivers. Keelan Keeley, Jaden Sanders, and DJ McKinney, all really good players. Keeley, an edge guy, Sanders and McKinney, corners. Those are all really good transfers. Which one's the most important? It's probably Porath. For those who don't remember or don't know, against BC, Notre Dame missed 3, not field goals, extra points. They had a kicking problem. So they replaced that, and hopefully they fix it. Just to add in, I mentioned that I probably wouldn't go on besides Jackson Cantwell High School. Ian Premer could play. They're a loaded team. They don't need a lot of freshmen to play. Premer is a guy that I think could. Rare tight end, can make guys miss, could play in the screen game, very athletic, can play outside. He's very gifted. That would be a really good group. They had the number 2 high school class, number 9 in terms of the portal on 3. Next up, Florida, Eric Singleton, wide receiver from Auburn. I think that's the key. Aaron Philo is going to get the most attention. Coordinator comes over from Georgia Tech, brings his backup quarterback. How's that going to work? I'm going to talk extensively about UF when I do a podcast later today. It'll be up tomorrow. We're going to talk quite a bit about whether or not Florida did the right things. They got a few additions, offensive line. I think they needed more, but they had a really good high school class. They got 20 high school recruits. It's number 14 class, number 12 portal with 27 additions. Florida did a good job. Now the question is it enough to get them over the top? I don't really know. When we come back, I want to talk about the momentum, how this works for these programs and others like Oregon, Indiana, etc. Is there a momentum shift with these kinds of players coming into your program? I say yes, and I'll explain why here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. The Winter Games are officially here, and they're a blast. If you're anything like us, you're locking in for events you only get to see on the biggest stages once every 4 years. And again, Winter Olympics are absolutely awesome. And that's why following the Winter Games on FanDuel just makes sense, from medal counts to individual events to finding your angles on the sports you care about the most. FanDuel gives you that opportunity and more, because you're going to have a connection to the games, because you could be the one that not only who comes in first, whether it's figure skating, whether it's speed skating or anything else. It's awesome watching it, but there's also that added edge of putting a little skin in the game with FanDuel. The Winter Games are on, and there's no better way to follow them with FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. We are also brought to you by our friends over at Wayfair. Wayfair is the best place because the new year is here, and you're going to need a little bit of a refresh for your apartment, for your home, whatever it may be. could be linens. It could be your pillows. It could be a new couch. The computer that I'm literally using right now is available anytime you want. I got mine in 3 days, and it's the one I use every single day in my office, in my home, right from Wayfair. From bedding and mattresses to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair makes it easy to start the year fresh. Wayfair has everything that you need all in one place, whether you're updating the living room, organizing your spaces, or anything else. So again, I picked up a desk. You could get something for your kitchen or anything else. There's everything you could need over at Wayfair. Head over to wayfair.com. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style and every home. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast a part of your day each and every day right here on the nation's #1 podcasting network, Locked On. Truly appreciate it. And if you want to take your game to the next level, check out the description below. There is a link that'll give you the option for the Everydayer Club. If you take your audio to go, it's the best place, especially. That's the #1 factor, in my opinion. $5 a month or $50 for the year. You can get your pods with no ads. Check it out down in the description below, the Everydayer Club. Now, let's talk a little bit about momentum, and I'll get into the chat here in a minute. If you got any comments about other teams that you think did with recruiting or portal or both, or anything that you need to see from a team next year, or that coach is going to be in the hot seat because they didn't do a good job, fire away in the chat. And if you're listening to this later, comment on YouTube. I'm happy to go in and answer. I love the discussion points. So let's talk about it. Momentum. There is a belief that it seems coming out with, especially with fan bases. Hey, like I'll use LSU as an example. Great portal class, 40 guys coming in for the Tigers. Sam Levitt, Jordan Seaton, Prince Will, Mielin. I always pronounce his name wrong. Prince Will Mielin, really good player. You get those three, you're way ahead of the curve. But they got 9 receivers. They got players from all over the country that are really, really good. And you're like, man, we got a shot. After the up and down, turbulent times at LSU, especially offensively, this past season, there's momentum. So whatever school you root for, is there momentum for your school, and why? And if there's not, same question. Why not? It really is still relationships here. You have to find a way to build relationships. Not just with 7-on coaches and trainers and stuff for high school, but other coaches around the country. These college coaches, I'm hearing a little bit now, this is kind of the new thing. Hey, this guy left. What's the deal? Is it playing time? Is it an NIL deal, something that y'all didn't really mess with as coaches? What's the reason for this guy to transfer? You've got to find the right fits. I saw a post on X earlier today. Urban was still at Ohio State at the time. He was talking about 7-on-7 and camps are not as important as being the best player at your high school. And he's true with that. I have a little disagreement that he would never take the word of a 7-on-7 coach. I think that's insane. But he was talking about you got to be really good with your development first before 7-on-7 is really going to help you. That was his overall method, which is just completely true. The 7-on-7 organization I work with, Coastline, kids we're bringing in, those are dudes. We help them. We give them ideas. We teach them concepts. But it's the advancement. It's not the beginning steps. And it's the same way at the college level because a lot of these kids come and think they're ready. Then they're given a lot of playbook information, like install a meeting. I talked to Teddy Gerard. He's going to Notre Dame this next summer to enroll. He had a meeting the other day. It was 3 hours on install. 3 hours. Some kids can't handle that. And when these college coaches talk to each other, hey, is this kid attentive? Is he going to be respectful? How do you build your program? And do the coaches, not just the fans, think they've built momentum? Did they find the right guys? Now, back to the fan side. Do you feel that way about your school? Again, it's up to you how you want to look at it, but I think there are a lot of different ways to kind of go at it. Katie Ullman says, protecting Levitt's backside is a priority, especially with that foot injury. For those who don't know, Sam Levitt has a Liz Frank injury. What is that? That is a bone/ligament issue. I don't know if he broke the bone. It could be one or both. And usually they get surgery, but there's a couple ways you can go about it. You can forego the surgery and you'll get back sooner, but you're going to have a more high propensity to re-injure it. If you have the surgery, it takes longer to heal, but you mitigate being re-injured. Bottom line, he had a foot injury that's consistently a problem because it is very long and grueling. There's no good way to do it, and they've never figured out a quicker way. Of course, you're putting all your weight on your feet when you walk. So getting hit is probably not their favorite thing anyway, but especially coming off of that, I wonder about the mental side for Sam. So what Katie's talking about here with him is very, very important. If you're going to invest, and Sam, you got to invest in tackles because offensive line by a mile was LSU's biggest problem this last year. Tyree Adams just transferred to rival Texas A&M. So did Cohen Eccles. You bring in the big fella, and you bring in a few other guys too up front. We'll see what happens, but they invested a lot in Jordan Seaton, and they had to do it. That was their thought process, and it did a good job, in my opinion, of balancing out the roster. But they flipped it between the two. Let me see what it is. Like 57 players, I believe it was in totality for the LSU Tigers between the transfer portal. Yeah, 17 high school kids, 40 portal. That's a lot. Big Richard Anderson, Deuce Geralds, Lamar Brown, the 3 defensive linemen they brought in. Those are all really good players. I'm curious to see Omen Whelan and some of those guys, how they bring them in to help with the defense, but it still starts with Jordan Seaton. I don't think anybody's going to doubt that LSU has a lot of talent, so we'll see. KD, historically, after a big season, Mario's teams regress. Happened at Florida International and Oregon, 9-3 and 226. Ooh, 2026, she's picking the Miami Hurricanes to go 9-3. I'm just curious, Katie, are you saying this just in general, or are you saying this because you really think there's something specific? I don't think their schedule is very difficult. They play at Notre Dame. They'll be an underdog in that game. That'll be the only game they're underdog in out of the 12. What are the other games that you think are most likely for Miami? Matter of fact, I'll just for the fun of it here, I'm just going to pull up Miami's schedule. This ought to be fun. This ought to be fun. Miami, they didn't, not that they organize it because it's the ACC, but we'll see here. They got Stanford out of the gate. This is their schedule. I'll share my screen for those of you watching on YouTube here. This is interesting. I don't see 9-3, but if they do, there's going to be a lot of people that are very angry. This, by the way, for those that are watching on YouTube, this is the official University of Miami site, so it's about as close to being correct as it's going to get, at least you would hope. I don't think there are any other changes of note, but here it is. Again, we got Stanford first, Florida A&M. They got Wake Forest, Central Michigan. They do play Clemson at Clemson. That's interesting. I thought that game was at home. It's on the road. Okay, I'll give you that. They get 2 weeks off before they play Florida State. They're not that great. Pittsburgh, we'll see. It's at Hard Rock. They go to Chapel Hill. I have no idea what to expect for North Carolina. They get Notre Dame the weekend after. That's tough, playing road games back-to-back. They get Duke, so the Mensa game. Duke comes down to Miami. You get Virginia Tech on a Friday night at Hard Rock, and you finish the season at Hard Rock against Boston College. They are not very good. So I guess you could say they're going to lose Notre Dame, Clemson, and one of Florida State, Pitt, or North Carolina, but I just don't think any of those three have the talent. Florida State, especially, I just don't see it. But Pittsburgh and North Carolina, their rosters were in flux. Pittsburgh has a quarterback. I'll give you that. We'll see with them. But that's interesting that you brought up Miami there. That's 9-3. If they go 9-3, there are going to be a lot of really upset fans with Mario Cristobal. That I can absolutely assure you, because 9-3 with that roster would definitely be an underachievement in my opinion. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But really good roster for this next season. The other comment here from Katie that I think is interesting. The right way, ask Kirby Smart. That's very true. And then finally, Mario is historically lose to two teams he should easily beat. Will lose to Notre Dame straight up. I mean, that sounds like Pittsburgh and North Carolina to me is what you're saying. And that's kind of where I'm pointing, like, maybe it's a Wake Forest or something like that. But with that roster, man, that would be pretty rough. I mean, I guess I could see she's right. They do lose to some teams they probably should not. But again, with Mensa on the roster now, that would be a major, major disappointment. When we come back, going to wrap up the show, talk a little bit about recruiting and finish up on recruiting momentum. That is next here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by Indeed. Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. It's finding the right person for your company with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed-sponsored jobs is the move, because Indeed's opportunity of hoping the right person stumbling across your post isn't what they're doing. Indeed, instead, they help you match qualified candidates by boosting your job listing to people who fit your specific criteria, whether it's a skill you got to have, whether it's personality, whether it is location, whether it is a certain type of experience in management, whatever it is, they will help you out. And if you're hiring, wouldn't it be nice just to find somebody that has that perfect fit and not have to waste a whole bunch of time? Money is the bottom line, and finding resources to get the right people in, it can be expensive. Don't allow that to happen, and let Indeed help you out. And here's what really says it all. In 1 minute that I've been talking to you, companies have made decisions to hire people from Indeed. On average, 27 hires on the Indeed data from worldwide. That is incredible. 27 in 1 minute. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help you get the job from the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions applied. Hiring. Do it the right way with Indeed. Final point here on the show. We are to the beginning of the recruiting season. What does this mean? It's not the most exciting or sexy thing to talk about, but if you're not getting players on campus for your junior days, this is the extension of the momentum I talked about at the beginning of the show, and I brought up again towards the middle. LSU, Notre Dame, whoever it is, these programs that are pushing to make the college football playoff this next year, which ones made the right decisions that fit their program? That kind of goes to the post I talked about that Urban Meyer had, that somebody put, I forget who put it up on X, but it's the bottom line. Who did you sign? Did you get the right people that fit? Did you do your vetting process properly? Well, you're doing that now, that vetting process with high school kids. This is what Urban was talking about again, and it's take it for whatever it's worth. I think a lot of people understand that it's not an exact science, but it's difficult. Got to be your best player on your high school team, or at least one of the top if you're an IMG or something that's a little different, Buford or Mater Dei. But are you the best player on your high school team? And are the coaches coming in to see you getting the right answers from the high school coaches? And then guys that, like I work with Coastline 7-on-7, our coaching staff does a great job of helping kids find the right school and fit for them. It's a different game than even when Urban was the head coach of Ohio State. It's vastly changed. 7-on-7 is a direct link to whether kids get offers, whether Urban agrees with that or not. But it still does what he's talking about. Start with the high school level, your development, then you go to 7-on-7. That's the order. Develop first, showcase it on the 7-on-7 circuit. It's an extra way to get reps, have fun, and enjoy doing all the things that go along with being a big-time player. And that's when LSU's, USC's, Michigan's, Notre Dame's, Florida's will come calling. So I think it's a really great way to showcase it. And these programs, like, we're on the phone, we're texting people, we're emailing people. Hey, this is what this kid does. I put up posts, kids get offers based on whether it's a Coastline kid or somebody else, based on what I saw and what the video shows. Once it's on film, it's legit. These programs got to build momentum in recruiting after they see this stuff and they offer the kids. The key step is still getting them on campus. That is the program momentum. All the reasons that you do what you do as a program is to get the best players that fit together. Right now, it's happening. You may not see a lot of news coming out of your favorite SEC, your Big Ten program, Notre Dame or BYU, whatever it is. I'm telling you, right now, February is massive because all the evaluation process, there's some junior days going on, but you'll see even more in March when we have spring ball. The teams that get the best players on campus unofficially will also be the teams that end up having the best official visit lists. And then, of course, it's about closing. I'm not going to go into that. That is for April and May discussion. Closing is getting kids to make a decision and be done. I'll use one example to wrap up the show. Caden Henderson's a kid I talked to out of Battle Vegas when we were in Las Vegas, and he looks like from the neck down, he's 25 years old. It's insane how physically gifted Caden is, and great kid too. He plays at Jesuit High School in Tampa. Every school in the country wants it. Grew up a Florida State fan. If he had his druthers, he'd go to Florida State. But he's openly not sure about how good Florida State's going to be. Well, how's he going to know? Because the recruiting process is pretty much done before this next season starts, way in advance. Matter of fact, it's going to take visits May and June, like everybody else. He'll probably have a decision before August has begun. The Noles haven't played again. How does a team like Florida State, which, by the way, I cover FSU for Locked On Seminoles, how in the hell are you going to figure that out and do it? How are you going to do it? Florida State has to figure that out on one end. On the other, give you another example. Another school he's looking at is Notre Dame. They want him really bad, but they just changed their linebacker coach. Caden's like, man, you guys changed coaches. And I'm like, well, he got a job as a coordinator at his alma mater. I'd have taken it too. But Notre Dame's got to figure that out because relationships are still the bottom line. And now Notre Dame may or may not be right there at the top because of that spot. Then Miami, that's another school he likes. Right down the road, they're coming off a national title game perspective. Their defense was lights out. Maybe they're the team that makes a move. There are so many different little idiosyncrasies with recruiting, just with one kid. A&M's involved, Ohio State's involved, Alabama's involved, and that's just one player. This time of year is unique, and it's a blast. And by the way, if you want to see some really fun film, go check out Caden Henderson, Kaden Henderson, like total freak show. Plays with one of the best programs in Florida and Tampa Jesuit. But thank you very much to everybody that stopped in today. Truly appreciate it. It's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of stuff going on with all this. Bernie, Notre Dame roster has at least 22 first-round draft picks on the roster. They should have destroyed New England in the Super Bowl. Obviously being a little bit facetious, but Notre Dame's roster is going to be really, really good this year. Katie, where are we at? Let's see. A lot of Miami's season depends on Mensah staying healthy. That is true. Should he go down this season, will be a dumpster fire. Miami was been lucky with Beck and Ward. They're a quarterback injury away. Yeah, it's the same for every program, though, Katie. You got to protect them, and that's why they really focus on the trenches and O-line recruiting. Miami's done a great job of that. And so it's Notre Dame and Texas A. Like, you look at the schools we talked about today, how many of them don't recruit O-line really well? They all do. It's just being balanced. Like LSU got kind of hosed. They lost not one, but both of their offensive tackles a year early to the draft this past year. I mean, you can't predict that kind of stuff, and they got kind of stuck. Bernie, Notre Dame's roster is built to win back-to-back national championships if you want to win. Oh, well, I don't know about back-to-back. CJ is going to leave after this next year, brother. I can say that right now. I will be shocked if he does not. When I come back for the next show, I'm going to start talking about some individual recruitments. I talked a little bit about Caden Henderson at the end of this show. I'm going to have some other stuff going on with Coastline. I'm also doing a show with Brandon Olson over there at Locked On Gators, talk about their portal additions, guys they lost, and kind of just wrap up the massive transformation that the Florida Gators are having. Those are a couple of the shows I'm going to have. I'm going to have some more recruiting intel pieces. There's a lot of stuff going on, and we're going to enjoy it right here on the Portal Podcast. So thank you once again. And if you have not already, please like and subscribe. And if you're on audio, please leave us a review on Apple. Would truly appreciate it. This has been the Portal Podcast.